hello, everyone. Today we have a great interview with Sheetal Rajan. She is an energy coach, a quantum healer. She has a certificate on quantum healing, and she worked with sacred geometry. She does a lot of consultations. She's just amazing. And I'm going to share with you some information about her so you can get to know her a little better before we start this dialogue that I'm pretty sure that is going to help each and every one of you. So this I took from her webpage. It says, for over a decade, Sheetal traveled both physically and intellectually, expanding her knowledge into areas of quantum science, metaphysics, energy healing, manifestation laws, self-care, mindfulness, and breath work. On one such visit to the mountains of Nepal, she found herself aligning with the universal energy matrix and downloading the absolute wisdom of sacred geometry. She describes the experience as being as natural as breathing and yet as overwhelming as an avalanche. Upon returning to her home, she immediately began her research and study into her subject, and today she shares her learning with seekers around the world. As an energy coach, Sheetal uses her knowledge of sacred geometry and her quantum abilities to re-engineer the human energy field. She guides clients to heal themselves from psychological blocks, illnesses, and even chronic conditions so they can enjoy a more fulfilled and happy life, as well as evolve their consciousness. As a corporate consultant, and excuse my English, Sheetal gives keynote speeches and conducts workshops for businesses interested in boosting their creativity, camaraderie, and communication with employees. She also offers private coaching for upper management to help them break psychological barriers and achieve their greatest visions. So this is just a little something about Sheetal. And we are connected. She's in Dubai. I'm in Ecuador, so we have to find a good time zone to meet, and we are in that time zone right now. So Sheetal, thank you so much for accepting this interview. And I would like to start asking you, how did you arrive into becoming an energy coach, a quantum healer, and working with sacred geometry?
Gloria, thank you. That introduction, my goodness. That was such a beautiful introduction. You're reading it, you were reading it, and I just found myself going, who is that? It's such a beautifully done. Thank you. Thank you so much. My journey actually starts right from when I was really young. I grew up in India, down south. With my family, who we visited the temples every morning, and it was a typical religious family that went to the temple, prayed, did prayers in the evening together as a family. And during that time, I experienced some deep traumas in my childhood. There was a lot of there was scenes of abuse, as do many people these days, I believe. And what used to happen is that whenever I faced this, I used to see goddess Kali in front of me. We never prayed to Kali. So people in India pray to specific gods. The family says, hey, this is our God. This is the God we're going to pray to for all generations, right? My family did not pray to Kali, but I used to always see Kali, some abstract form of this crazy lady with, she's the goddess of destruction. So, this crazy lady with long black hair, with red tongue, red eyes, but as a child, I would just look at her and go, hi, she's my imaginary friend. I mean, I did not feel scared of her. So this went on for a little while until somewhere around 7 or 8, it just evaporated. And then I arrived with my parents in Dubai and started living a completely normal life, worked in advertising, partied way too hard, lived like a regular human being as an atheist who then finally renounced religion because religion didn't do anything for me, renounced any kind of spirituality, saying, "Ugh, no way. I mean, none of that helped me when I was young. I went through all of this struggle when I was young, and religion did not help me." So the typical, very much like you initially said, for listeners who may be not awakened, listeners who do not believe in anything, listeners who are not in that high vibing spiritual space, right? I was one of those people. And then somewhere as I'm going through this life, somewhere in 2010, I discovered this Japanese way of healing, the healing by hands, which is Reiki. So I decided, hey, why not? Let's go learn something cool, right? It literally was meant to be something cool, like going for salsa dancing classes. It was supposed to be something so simple. But next thing you know, I start to learn this, I get initiated, and there's like heat coming out from the middle of my palms. And I'm like, that's not possible. Logically, come on. How is it possible? What am I, some sort of a magical unicorn? No, this is not possible. So I was a non-believer. I got my level 1 certification, level 2 certification, got my master certification in Reiki, and still carried the seed of doubt as to, but why? Why does it work? Why is it that when I place my hand, there was one person who had a nerve issue, and her little finger, for 2 years, her little finger was bent all the time, just like that, like a question mark, And I'm sitting with her one day, and this is the non-believer who just went and got a master certification, right? I just held her hand and I gave her love and I spoke to her and I transferred what I know of universal life force energy through my body into her hand. And she also took it very lightly. It was not supposed to be like an intense session. She called me the next evening saying, "What did you do?" And I said, "Oh my God, Jesus, what has happened? I've messed things up." She said, "I have gone to neurological doctors for 2 years and nobody has been able to help me. My finger is absolutely straight." And that's when it started kind of, I started going, okay, maybe there's something to this. I mean, my masters were very esoteric masters, and that bothered me because I do not believe in a world where a master sits on a stage and then the priest sits at the pew or the podium, and the pope sits in the Vatican. I don't believe in that hierarchy, you see. So it was very hard for me to get into that zone. But I started developing more. I learned transdimensional quantum healing done by Giancarlo Zazer. He's this amazing shamanic healer from Italy, believe it or not. And I learned ecstatic dance. I learned all of these different modules, each one opening up, it kicks open another door. It's like reading one book, then you read another book, and it opens another door. It opens another door. And I was just doing this for myself. Then 2013, I traveled to Nepal just to be with friends, just a camping trip, very simple. And as I was there, walking around in this valley area, gorgeous place. I mean, wow, right? Suddenly, it was as though somebody put their hand on my shoulders and made me sit. And my eyes started going into like an epileptic attack. My body was not shaking, but my eyes were doing like this. My eyes were rolling back, and I'm losing my mind. The logical mind, the young girl, the party woman, yes, she goes, "Oh my God, this is so scary. What's going on? Oh my God, it's schizophrenia. Oh no, I'm having epilepsy. Oh no, I have to tell my mom my bank account passwords." I'm so scared about what's going on because I couldn't move. But on the other side, there was blueprints, books, ancient text, sacred geometry designs, everything just downloading into my head. I could see an entire universe of information. It sounds cool. But believe me, it was scary. Because to a person who barely believed in the things that she was learning, this was unbelievable. This stuff that only happens in the movies. How could it be happening to me? And so I sat there, all of this stuff happening, and then I looked around and I could see the fungal structures of the trees communicating with each other. I could see the sacred geometry of the trees and how it was connected to the sacred geometry of the rocks and the bushes and the goats passing by. I could see far off my friends in the camping tent area, and I could see all of their 10 bodies. I could see their aura. I could see layers of their aura. I could see the connections between two people standing on opposite sides of the ground. I could see them communicating with each other without exchanging words. It was, and later on, I have been told it's like an acid trip, it's like a DMT trip, it's like all of these different substances that you can consume, and also ayahuasca gives you some sort of a trip like this, right? Here I am, sober, going through this. So I'm in shock. So this happens after 2 hours. I calm down. After I would like to think it was 2 hours, right? It felt like 2 years, but 2 hours later, I calmed down and I went, "Whoa, okay, I'm not dead. I've not jumped off from a mountain, So now I just have to make sure that I don't go stand on the edge of any mountains in case, in case some voice in my head says something." So it was not a voice in my head. It was not, the visions were all these sacred geometry everywhere, but there wasn't how we hear in stories about an angel appeared and so on and so forth. It was a knowing. It was like 1 minute I don't know, and the next minute I know, and the knowing is growing, and I'm just, oh my God, it has to be, it was, you read it out. You said it was as calm as a breeze, but as intense as an avalanche. It really was. So here I am with this information having happened. And right after that, it's like, bam, I'm fine. So I get back home. And after reaching home, I decided, you know what, I need to, before I go and submit myself to a mental asylum, I have to first research this, just find out what's going on. And when I got on the internet, I'm only typing words like connection, pattern. I had not in my life known the word sacred geometry.
Mhm.
I'd never known it. So I'm typing patterns, people are connected, we are one. And then that's how I discovered sacred geometry. I discovered the Resonance Foundation led by Dr. Nassim Haramein. I discovered Dr. Joe Dispenza and neurologically what he talks about. I started listening to all of his words. Bruce Lipton I knew from before. Louise Hayes I knew from before. Abraham Hicks I knew from before. But everything that they were saying made triple sense because of what I had just discovered. Now, then I have an entire collection of books of anybody who's ever written anything about sacred geometry. I have it, right? So I started researching through those books to find out, what did I really see that day? What did I really download that day? And what has become clear to me is that a majority of the great minds that have spoken about sacred geometry have looked at it from the perspective of 3D design. You have Plato, who came up with the Platonic solids. We're talking about from 2,500 years ago. 9,000 years ago, Sumerians were talking about it. The Phoenicians were talking about it. About 75 years ago, you had Carl Sagan talking about it. It is Nikola Tesla who said, if you really want to understand the universe, start thinking in terms of vibration, frequency, and energy, right? So all of them started talking about it from the sense of physically how its manifestations can be in architecture, in design, in art. Leonardo da Vinci, all his art is sacred geometry, right? But the information that I had been given is addressed and currently being shared only by a very small amount of people, inclusive of Drunvalo Melchizedek, yes, who has written Ancient Secrets of Flower of Life, but I don't think he's conducting the workshops anymore. I checked. Then there is Matthew Brownstein, who wrote one book called The Sacred Geometry of Meditation. And then that's it. He moved from there into hypnotherapy. And then currently I am learning Samadhi. This is by Ivan Antic. He talks about the 4 points of meditation. And connecting into sacred geometry. So it's a barely addressed subject. But what I realize is that this information is not something we don't know. It is just we don't know this information in relation to our existence. Sacred geometry looks very pretty when you see it on plants, when you see it in a mandala t-shirt that somebody's wearing, when you see it on a carpet, when you see it in Islamic designs inside a mosque, or one of those mats that Muslims pray on, or in Christianity, it's the stained glass windows. It's the amazingly large pine cone at the entrance of the Vatican. In Hinduism, it's everywhere. It's called Vedic geometry. Yes, the Buddha is there. In Buddhism, Buddha has that beautiful geometric space that he's in. Mandalas are part of the Buddhist culture. Deeper Vedic geometry in everything. Every temple created in India has been done so using geometry. So you'll notice it's all the physical perspective. And not to forget, in modern days, you have the Pentagon, which is a pentagon. You see, then you have in Dubai, the largest building in the world is called Burj Khalifa, and Burj Khalifa is built on the principles of sacred geometry. Every country that understands this information is inducing this information and injecting it into the development of their country to spread a certain energy. Where I come in is taking this from the space of the physical into the space of the psychological, into the space of quantum contemplation, I call it. It's a mouthful, but it's quantum contemplation, where even our body, what we realize is that we know that planets, plants, water, all of these architecture, paintings, art, all of it has sacred geometry. People are intelligent and they use sacred geometry in everything. The maximum that people do are they'll have sacred geometry in their homes, either through Feng Shui or Vastu Shastra, which is from India, or, arranging your house in a certain way, building your home in a certain way. Sure, no problem. But sacred geometry, at the end of the day, is the study of vibration, frequency, and energy. What is the greatest vibration that you're producing all the time? It's your thoughts. You produce vibration through your words. You produce vibration through your heartbeat. And these vibrations, they create a pattern. So if you are somebody who is going through life constantly saying, I'm a failure, I feel like a failure, I have failed, I'm a disappointment, then that's the vibration that you are sending out into the universe. And this universe that we're calling is the collection of all the energy, of all the people, all the things in the universe, from asteroids to black holes to all of the existence is producing energy. And everyone's energies are connected. Your past, present, future is connected. Your own individual 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D are connected. And the thing that no one seems to grasp, and my only intention, is not to establish myself as this person who can heal you, right? My touch will heal you. My touch will heal the leper like Jesus did. No, not at all. The greatest secret is that the power to heal you is within you. The power to heal you is lying in your thoughts, in your words, in your actions, in your emotions. It is lying in your ability to let go of the past and welcome the future. It is all within you. And so now I knew this theoretically. I had to start practicing it as a Reiki master. I'm also a Theta practitioner. I'm a certified Theta practitioner. So here I was with all of these tools and I said, come on, let's go. I have to start applying the things I know. I delayed it from 2013 till 2018, 5 years, because I was still not prepared. I was dealing with my limiting beliefs and my understanding, who am I? I'm not a guru. I'm a crazy party woman from, I'm this crazy Indian party woman who loves to party. Why would anybody want to listen to me? I later on found out why. You see, one of the things that becomes very clear to us is that you definitely understand epigenetics. Now, science is saying that your DNA can store memory, okay, to a point where the memory that your great, 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 great grandmother had or great, 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 great grandfather who felt he had failed, and that feeling of failure was so strong, you carried it all the way to 100 years later, it is possible. So if that is possible, generational curses, we call it, right? And we also see that disease happens over and over again in generations. If that can be carried, then my friend, then good stuff can be carried too. Some great stuff can be carried, you see? And this is where I want to connect you back to that story of where I started as a child and I used to see Goddess Kali everywhere. You see, my grandmother, I never knew her. She was my father's mother. I never knew her. By the time I was born, they stopped talking about her. Usual family drama, right? And here I am. I was 29 years old when this happened. Nobody ever spoke about my grandmother's side of the family. And in Kerala, where I come from, we are a matriarchal society, you see? So we had no connection to her at all. When I was 29 years old, one of my relatives called me and said, you know what? You won't believe what just happened. Because I tell my story to my family as well. She said, you won't believe what's going on. And I said, tell me. Some family gossip, She said, well, we tracked down your grandmom, right? She had passed away by then, but her family, they tracked down her family and went to visit them. And they said, oh, it's so nice. We thought we completely lost touch with you. But it's now that you're here, please make sure you go to the family temple. I'm sure Ecuador has the same. Famous families or rich families build churches. Isn't this true? Everywhere around the world, this exists as a concept. Certain families, they build a church or they build a temple or they build a prayer place. So they said, make sure you go to the family temple. It's been there for 150 years. And now that you've connected back with the family, make sure you go. She arrives there and it's a Kali temple. So when I was going through trauma and abuse, I was seeing visions of her because my ancestors were sending me power. My ancestors were sending me blessings through the image that they have always had in their mind of being Kali devotees. You see? So knowing this and feeling this, I started taking this information to my clients. When I sit down with them, the first thing I do is I take them through this. This is where my advertising experience comes in, right? I take them through this beautiful presentation where I show them that they are part of the divine design of the universe. And then right after that, I take them into this quantum contemplation journey where I connect them to their energy field. I make them purge what they don't want anymore, release, let go, delete, right? We use any method to do it. I always hear from people, but it has to be one method. One method cannot overlap with the other method. Theta healing, one of the rules is you can only use theta healing on its own. And there are people who've done that, right? Where they say, listen, only use this method. Do not combine it with any other method because it does not work. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, bring the shamans from Hawaii and bring the priests from India and let them both dance together, And then after this is done, I teach my clients. I teach them how to continue living a life of quantum contemplation, always tuning the frequency of where they are, tuning negativity and stopping to look at negativity as something bad, but to look at negative things and negative situations as treasures, as triggers, as catalysts, and transmute them into ascension. So that's
Great.
pretty much the work I do. And that's where the
Wow.
whole thing started.
Amazing. Wow. I mean, I was overwhelmed. I was so touched. I relate so much to the things that you share, that, sometimes when you go through these processes, it's difficult to share with other people because they're going to think you're crazy. And
Yep.
so sometimes we have to keep them to ourselves until the moment is ripe to share. And, in your process, it's the time to share. So out of all these that you have narrated, I have to ask you
Please.
certain things, because, like, I know, the quantum idea is out there, but
Yep.
most people are not still familiar with what quantum means. So
Yeah.
what is this quantum world? I mean, we can see it in Marvel movies or things like that, but we still believe it's fiction. What is this quantum world and the quantum healing that you mentioned?
Awesome. So, first and foremost, I speak on behalf of the entire scientific brethren who roll over in their graves when spiritual people use the word quantum. Okay. Quantum was taken from quantum physics, a word that literally means subtle energies, like deeper, smaller, broken down versions of an atom. Okay. Quantum means the deeper look into the nucleus. In spirituality, the word quantum is stolen from the science world, right? To indicate going deeper and looking deeper into your subtle energies. Your subtle energies are your thoughts, your words, your actions, your emotions. Your subtle energies are that quantum world, really is the contemplation world. It's that deep subconscious space where there's a certain way we live, right? Now, typically, we have this habit as women, for example. We tend to say, oh, I'm so old, even as men, actually. I'm so old. Oh my God, I'm so ugly. Oh, this is so terrible. We tend to say these words, not realizing that we are producing vibrations and intentions that are saying to that quantum space. And this quantum space, I will explain what it is. You are sending out negative energy. And next thing you know, you get like a funny mole on your face. And you go, where the hell did that come from? You are sending out energy that says I'm ugly. You are sending out energy into the quantum space, which is a subtle energy space. You are sending out information like this. So quantum as a word essentially just means the deeper look at your energy field. Okay, what is that quantum world? So as a human being, we have hands, legs, we have individual cells, and we have our DNA, right? Science has recently shown us that the individual atom, each cell of our body, and if you take it down to the level of the atom, when they look deeper into the atom, and they've done this by taking an epithelial cell, like a little cell from your skin, they look under one of those awesome microscopes, nanoscopes, and they look deep inside and they notice that 99.9999% of that cell is energy. It's empty. There's
Empty.
nothing to be seen. And then what it is that 99.999999% of your atoms are pure waveform energy. It's waves.
Vibration.
So vibration.
Mhm.
So to whoever's listening right now, right? None of us, we're not solid. You are not your face, your hands, your legs. This is the 3D form. This is the collective consciousness, the belief that you are just human. But you are this ball of energy. You are this pulsing, vibrating, dynamically exchanging information with all other things around you. Pure energy. Yes. So, where I'm sitting right now, I'm pure energy. My body is this vibrating, pulsing, moving, fantastic supernova of energy, right? I'm sitting on a chair. What do you think this chair is?
The same.
This chair too is the same. It is just energy, but in a different vibration, in a different frequency. My bad. Right? I'm sitting in front of a table. It's made of wood. It has a completely different energy, but it is all made of energy. So in Hinduism, we talk about Maya. Maya is when Paramahamsa, who is the supreme consciousness, he created Maya, which is the illusion that is the world. The illusion has buildings and chairs and walls and doors, and it has locks, and it has you versus me, right? And Paramahamsa says, the supreme consciousness says, ye human, you cannot fathom the grandness of my design. So I have created this Maya so that you can live, so that you can experience, so that you can exchange energy with the things that you pass by. So here we are. Now, this realization that you've just had, that finally what Hinduism has been saying since 5,000 years ago, right? And I'm 1,000% sure all of our cultures, deep back in the days, have been talking about how our body is energy, but they just said it in different ways. Today, science is starting to prove it, that our body, at some level, in the quantum level, deeper level, is pure energy. Now, what do we do with this information? Great, thank you, wonderful, I am energy. Now what? You see, this energy, it can be negative energy, it can be positive energy. This energy basically has a shape. And if you go and look at videos on YouTube for cymatics, cymatics, you look at some cymatics videos, you will see what energy can do. Energy is vibration and frequency. This vibration and frequency can vibrate on any material and create sacred geometry shapes. So, Gloria, your energy has a sacred geometry shape. My energy has a sacred geometry shape. So we need to, and this energy field, our torus field, the quantum field of individual people, is, according to Greg Braden, he talks about it in his series on Gaia. He talks about how it is your height to all sides, right? That's your energy field. That's the vibrational field where you are sending out love, sending out disappointment, sending out good things, sending out bad things, sending out good words, sending out bad words. And this energy, when it vibrates in air, it creates our energy field. And our energy field is a big 4D, 5D, 7D, I don't know what you want to call it. Like it's a 3D, 4D mandala. It's pure geometry. The power that I was talking about earlier is that you have the power with your thoughts, words, emotions, and actions to reprogram these vibrations. You can reprogram these vibrations and you can completely transform your life. Because when I reprogram the energy from my body, I reprogram the energy of my chair. I reprogram the energy of my table. Now, Gloria, you tell me, if I blindfolded you right now and I took you into a church, wouldn't you feel it?
Feel the energy. I would feel the energy. I don't know if I could say, oh, this church is this height, or the physical aspects, but the energy aspects. Yeah. And that is what I was looking. I was trying to look into a picture of downtown San Francisco. I don't know if you've been there to San Francisco, California. No. Okay.
I have been to San Francisco. Yes, I have. Sorry.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yes, I have.
Now, as you talk, since you were talking before, something just pounded my mind with San Francisco. Now, this is why. I used to study in Berkeley, and obviously in the 90s, and San Francisco had a certain type of energy. The obelisk was like a very strong symbol of downtown San Francisco, and it had a very important, and it's a white obelisk that had a very important energy that
This is
was
true. Yes.
okay. So I didn't. I left my studies, and I didn't go back for decades. When I went back, there has been in downtown San Francisco like a black, dark dome building constructed. That is,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's as high or higher than the obelisk, and it's sort of close to the obelisk. Well, my feeling, as you were mentioning, when go by blindfolded into a church, the feeling that I got when I went back to San Francisco after so many decades, and what I received, because it was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
That dome, that whatever building, that black building that was built, like robbed, took away the
Yeah.
energy personality of what San Francisco used to be. And I was really impressed because the energy all over the city, it didn't affect only downtown San Francisco, it affected the whole area. So how important the buildings that we built are, how we build our houses, the concepts that we hold to manifest. And that's where I'm taking you with this question, is
Yes.
the
Yes. Absolutely.
manifestation of the energy. Because you said, okay, so what do? I know all this, I know this secret geometry, and how do I manifest all these things that came to me? And how do I make sense of it in this physical realm, that even though it's
Mm-hmm.
even if it's an illusion, we are here and we believe, or we think that we are somehow real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was so impacted by that shift of energy. And you can see in neighborhoods, you go through the same street like a couple of blocks and it's beautiful, and the next blocks are horrible. Shift in
Yeah.
energy, the shift in energy. And so taking this in a larger scale, fractal scale, to what
Mm-hmm.
happened in San Francisco is really happening in the world. I mean, the
Yeah.
darkness has come out, the light is there, but it's been overtaken by the darkness. And there's an important reason for that. And I would like you to tap into that when you
Sure.
talk. What's happening in this world? What is this madness that we feel is happening?
So I like to say this story from the perspective of the old shift, or the old consciousness, and the new shift in consciousness, right? The old consciousness is the consciousness coming from all our religions and cultures, where there was divisiveness. There's good, there's bad. There's God, there's Satan. There is right and there's wrong. Yes. And in that perspective, what ended up happening is that we designated labels to different things that happens to us. Correct. And those labels were, if you ever, Gloria, if you ever feel jealous, you're a sinner. If you ever feel anger, you're a sinner, right? And what ended up happening? We have 6, 7, 10 generations of people who all think they're sinners. Tell me, when you were a young little child, 4 years old, 5 years old, you didn't get jealous of your sister's toy or your brother's toy. You didn't get angry when somebody cut you off on the road when you were driving, when you were a little older. Does that make you a sinner? And then they added the whole story of how in Christianity, Jesus died for our sins. In Islam, Prophet Muhammad has, made such sacrifices for you. And in, well,
Judaism. Oh,
in Judaism, in Hinduism, all of these spaces, it was a division, right? Now, the wonderful thing about the new shift in consciousness is that we are finally realizing, especially the past 2 generations. So we take millennials and Gen Xers, right? This new generation is finally realizing that this idea of bad does not exist, wrong does not exist. What exists is negative things that become catalysts for positive things. So negativity, negative situations, bad situations, as we call them, they are teachers. Yes. And good situations and positive situations are celebrations. You go down here, you learn a lesson, you go up there, you celebrate. Yes. Now, take this information and we put this aside. Now, let's talk about San Francisco. Let's talk about the world. There are two worlds. There is one world in which the world is getting destroyed. In one world, when you look at it, all you see is destruction. All you see is death. All you see is, unfairness. You see elitist 1% versus 99%. You see all of these things, correct? And seeing it makes you, and then you start thinking in terms of, oh my God, we are destroying our world. We are heading in the wrong direction. We are not heading in the right way. So that's one world, yes? Now let me show you, you can either live in that world or you can live in this other world. It's a high vibrational world. And I'm going to tell you the story of the world from that high vibrational perspective. We have, if my percentages and my numbers are never perfect, we have from at least 6 centuries, we have the lowest number of battles and deaths by war now. The lowest number. We have the highest number in education at the moment. We have the highest number in charitable organizations, humanitarians, helping people who are changing the world. We have the highest percentage in sustainability drives, in sustainable technology, innovations in sustainability. We have the highest number of billionaires. We have the highest number of millionaires. You see, we have, so two worlds. Yes, there are countries that are, oh my goodness, take a look at Venezuela, take a look at Lebanon, right? But if you were to observe it from that other world, the high vibrational world, you will begin to understand that these countries are basically going through the dark night of their soul. They have been living in division for so long. They have been living in the old way of old consciousness for so long that they themselves, I'm not even going to say the universe because it makes it sound like there's a God who's sitting and sending judgment to Venezuela. You know, there's a God who's sitting and sending judgment to Lebanon, where today young babies cannot be treated in Lebanon. They don't have Panadol. It's that bad. The situation is that bad. You see, Venezuela, you know the stories. My goodness, you see. But what is actually happening is this: the people itself, including the vibration of the land, the history of the land, the people of the land, the intentions of the land are all colliding in order to finally find its place into the new shift of consciousness. Same goes for Lebanon, same goes for India, same goes for everywhere in the world. I have had this question asked to me. You talked about how San Francisco, when you went earlier, there was this beautiful white obelisk, and next to it now there's this big dark feature. Yes. When you walk in there as only as Gloria, we're taking one person, and this is the power that I want to make people understand that they have. The one Gloria who's walking amongst thousands of San Fran people, right, can completely shift the energy of that place by changing her perception of that black building. One person. This was in fact proven by Drunvalo himself. He went he talks about it in his second book, The Path of the Heart, I think it's called. He took a bunch of people, went on top of a hill, sat down, and this was somewhere in America. Sat down in a circle with his group of people, and there were dark pollution clouds above. Okay. They sat in meditation, in heart meditation, and the clouds actually parted and the sun came through. The intention of, I think they were 6 people, Transcendental meditation. This came from the East. This I'm so sorry, but I forget who invented or
Maharashi.
created Maharishi,
Maharashi.
isn't it?
Maharashi
Yes.
Mahesh Yogi.
So yes. So he brought in transcendental meditation and started doing research to show that on the days that they collected thousands of people together and did the transcendental meditation, there were lesser patients in the emergency room in the hospitals of that town, and there were lesser police cases in those days. The power that Gloria only holds is that just by shifting her perspective, by saying, yes, it looks ugly, but you know what? I'm sure it's part of progress. She can transform San Francisco. I have seen this work with my clients. I have seen this work with groups of people, because it is not the external environment that creates the energy. It is the internal environment that decides which world you live in. You either live in the world where we are all being destroyed, the world is being destroyed, the natural resources are being destroyed, or we live in a world where we see the efforts that are being made towards combating that.
Yeah, but
now yes,
let me ask you a question. Now, as we talked earlier, the darkness, what has been repressed in the darkness, needs to come out for it to be transformed. Like, people are afraid of the darkness. People are afraid of the negative, or of suffering. People don't want suffering, and they don't connect to the idea that you are mentioning, that like the darkness, whatever it entails, is what triggers people to wake up their light.
Yeah.
So when I arrived and I saw and I got the feeling of what was going on, I tapped first to the overall energy of the shift that this place has had over the years. And I understand that the environment in the city is going through very intense changes, and all the darkness through that building that has come out for people to work collectively. And obviously, as Frodo did with the Lord of the Rings, that little Frodo was able to change the destiny of the rings. I believe anybody can do it, of their own world.
Yes.
But how do we tap into understanding our energy? Because obviously, when I tapped into it and I saw that thing and I got that feeling, and I realized because I had the idea and the energy of the days I lived there, but through the 30 years, so many things change. And when I get back, is a crash of energies between the memory and the new energy that's there. Many people don't even feel that, unlikely. But so how do we tap into our own energy so we can use whatever we are tapping into and change it to be at the higher level, a higher vibration?
So the first thing that needs to be addressed, and the first thing that let's go step by step, right, to answer this question very directly. Number one question is, the listener, whoever is listening right now, the number one question is, do you want to come out of the darkness? Because if you don't want to come out of the darkness, darling, it's okay. It's okay. That's the burden you have decided to carry in this life. And you are going to become a trigger for so many people. And you even in your darkness, you will help people. Because we all have a part to play. So that was the harshest lesson for me to learn as an energy coach, as an ascension coach, is you cannot help those who do not want to be helped. because those who do not want to be helped are meant to stay in the darkness.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, the universe is not all about light. It's about light and dark, isn't it? The darkness helps to create catalyst and triggers. The light explodes and, has this beautiful celebration feeling for us.
Yeah,
So the number
like
one
that
question,
the Tai Chi
yeah,
symbol. Yeah.
yes, the
Mhm.
yin and the yang.
Yeah.
Yes. So number one question is, do you want to come out of the darkness? If you feel like, no, I'm fine in my darkness, this is where I am, this is my life, I don't need any spiritual advice from Sheetal from India and Dubai, who cares, right? No problem. Then thank you. You have a part to play. Do not allow anybody to tell you that you are wrong. Those in the darkness, those who are doing bad things, thank you for your service. Now, let's say your answer is yes, Sheetal, I need to get out of this. I would love to experience what you keep talking about, this amazing abundance where, when you do this energy work, yes, your abundance starts to increase. There are actual results that happen. So I'm ready for this. Then to them, I would say, it took you 12 years in school to learn a language. Were you born knowing Spanish and English and all the languages you know? No, it took you time, right? If you're a guitar player, for example, did you just pick up a guitar and you were amazing at guitar? No, no chance. You see, if you're a pianist, a maestro, it takes 8 to 16 years of grueling learning of doing it. Yes. Now let's take a doctor. Oh my goodness, they have to go through 8 years of education to have that DR in front of their name. Energy work
It's the
is
same.
like that.
Mhm.
Energy work is you say yes to it and you start. You start shifting your mind by opening up your mind to larger perspectives, learning not just about the things you've always known, but also look at things you've never known and be open minded about just reading them and absorbing them. Start watching documentaries, start reading more interesting things, start attending meditation classes, start getting therapy. Start getting therapy and learn and learn in your mind. It's about mind expansion, it's about learning new things, documentaries, books, podcasts, listen to Gloria, right? So all of these things in your vibe. I always say it's mind, vibe, and reality. So in your vibe, do the trauma work, do shamanic breath work, do yoga, do meditations, do coaching, do any work that you. This is what I do with my clients. Every month my clients come to me and they do their private coaching where they tune. They go back and say, oh, today I suddenly remembered my mom and I'm feeling bad about what she did. And then we go in and we clear out where that energy is coming from. Work on yourself, do the inner work. What about the reality? Now, we've talked about mind, where we're expanding our mind. We've talked about vibe, where we go to the therapy or go to coaches or go to yogis and shamans and kind of, open up our inner self. What about reality? Activation is not enough, action is required as well. You see, it's sort of like saying, in my mind, I want to win the lottery. In my vibe, I used to think I don't deserve money, but now I worked with my coach and now I feel I deserve money. But in the reality, you never bought the lottery ticket. You see, so the reality part is to set realistic goals and visions and start becoming part of your community that is looking towards positive change. So if you have a community that is going into squalor, that is going into fights, that is not having a good government, when you have all of this, instead of putting your time into writing Facebook comments about it, or doing petty things like fight with your family and fight with your friends about a subject that they have no control over, start taking inspired action. Start taking constructive steps towards achieving the goal that you want. To some people, that goal is, I've been a banker all my life, I just want to paint. Start painting, you see? But they don't do it because they're afraid that they might not be good at it and it's a waste of time. You see? There are some people who are so pissed off at their government and they're like, I can't believe change is not happening. But if they go read more about this situation, let's say, for example, it's about the government cutting trees. Okay, so if they go read more about it, learn more about it, work on their vibration, where they say, I connect to Mother Earth and I send her forgiveness, and I ask for forgiveness, and I send her good love energy. But then in reality, actually approach the government bodies, talk to your local politician, actually take action that matters. That's when we're going to see real change,
Mhm.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Spending our time just sitting and writing terrible Facebook comments, writing and yelling at our family and having arguments with them based on half-assed knowledge that you read somewhere on the internet, that's not how you work on things. You see?
Mhm.
So if it is, yes, I want to go into the light, I want to feel the abundance of the universe, then you have to do the trinity of mind, vibe, and reality. Open up your mind, expand your insights, really learn about the world. Do the inner work, do the energy work, work on your old traumas, work on your limiting beliefs. Continue that work. Find somebody in your town, find somebody that you resonate with. Back in the days in India, young kids spent years searching for their master. Since they are young, they search for years for their master until one master like resonates with them, until one master really like goes, wow, this is the guy. you know Nowadays, if we want to find a yoga master, we just say, well, two buildings from me there's a yoga center, so I'm just going to go to that one. No, find the person that you feel so connected to that you want to do your energy work with them, you see. And then in reality, stop doing things that are in negative vibration, which is complaining, gossiping, having useless conversations about, or rather, let me not say useless, conversations that don't
Meaningless. Meaningless.
meaningless.
Mhm.
Meaningless, they are not fruitful. If you are really concerned about your community, become an activist. You see, if you are really wanting to become an artist or a painter, then go buy the paintbrushes and the paint. So as a coach, what I do is I help people take, it's very hard, easy to say these things, but it's very hard to take the individual steps. So I provide tools, I provide guided meditations. I take them, baby steps. I hold their hand. If you talk to my clients, I'm constantly on their case. Like, what have you done today? What are we doing today? So I help them take tiny little steps to living that high vibrational life.
Mhm.
And as soon as they start living that high vibrational life, you will not believe the things that I've seen. Clients who have had chronic diseases where doctors told them that they're not going to, for the rest of their life, they're going to be on medication, they are completely off their medication. Clients who had their environment of abuse, the environment of abuse and physical abuse and emotional abuse and verbal abuse, the same environment came back after they started doing their work. Same, and when I say environment, it's either a husband or it's a boss, or it's the same people came back to them saying, I've really been bad with you, I'm going to change my ways. The same people turned around and started treating them with respect. And the most amazing one for me, of course, on the other side, there's also abundance. People are telling me, Sheetal, now I just think of things and they just happen. This is like the standard story of my life. Since I
Mhm.
discovered sacred geometry and I started following these principles, my energy field is now plugged into the energy field of the entire universe. In my mind, I thought this is India during the when the pandemic started. India went into a lockdown and then they opened up again. And I think there was a lot of darkness there as well, because they opened up with a great arrogance, like, oh, we're fine, everything is okay. Unfortunately, a bigger lockdown had to happen because things were really bad. And in that second lockdown, the economy plummeted. All of the all of these young generation of people had no idea what to do with no jobs, no prospects. They had no clue. And I started receiving messages on my Instagram saying, "Ma'am, I don't need money. Can you speak to somebody in India and just send my family some food?" You see, it was down to that situation. And in my mind, I just thought, there's no way I can help individual people. That's out of the question. That's, really out of the question. But in my mind, I simply sent out to the universe, and it was such a subtle thought. I said, show me a way in which I can help with my skills, with who I am. The very next day, just the way you contacted me, Gloria, the very next day, a professor from India contacted me and said, listen, I have 500 students who have just freshly graduated. They have no prospects, they have no jobs, and they are going through anxiety. Can you do a 500-person session where 400 up to 500 people, right? Can you do a session where you just give them some positivity? And I said, yes, finally, I can help en masse. I can help in a larger way. We set up the date, they came in, and I did an entire seminar called Power of Positivity. I had students contacting me later saying, I cried when you did that session because I needed someone to tell me that things are going to be okay. So the work needs to be done. Mind, vibe, reality.
Sheetal and I lost track of time, so I divided the interview in two parts. It was so exciting that actually I would suggest you watch the second part at your own time. Don't miss it.